and welcome back to the channel. I'm sure most of you are anxious to know the results on the Golf R with the built engine and whatnot. So here we go. Yeah, someone is in trouble. It's not me. So basically, the bottom end has failed. So I don't know if you remember me telling you in the last video, when I got called down to Birmingham initially to time this engine up. So yeah, obviously the guy who fucked the exhaust cam has done something incorrectly on the bottom end, and the bottom end let go in a bad way. Here is the carnage. Okay. Fucking hell. Shattered. Bearing as well. Number 4.
The crank will be fucked then if they're off.
Yeah. Number 2 is overheated. Number 4 is completely, I mean, you can't fucking, it's fucked the crank and everything basically, mate. Your piston at the top, you can't see it's chewed up to fuck, the rod's bent. And then you've got this fucker, which is the end cap. Fucking button ends let go. So there we go, there's one ZRP end cap that's been forged in the fires of Mordor, and both ARP bolts snapped, sheared off. So yeah, so obviously we pulled the sump off, the end caps fell out, and the rod bolts have snapped, they've sheared off. So what has caused that, what I think has happened anyway, I don't think he's gapped the piston rings correctly. Now this is probably the most critical thing you can do when building a bottom end, because obviously your piston ring goes around the piston. You're supposed to leave, or you're supposed to measure a gap, because obviously when engines get hot, this piston ring will expand, and what happens is when the piston ring butts together, it'll do this. So it can either chip the ringland off the piston, or it can do what I think it's done and just seize that piston solid in the block. And then what I think's happened is the crankshaft's obviously come to pull the piston down, and obviously you got the end cap holding onto the crank, and I think as it's come down it's just snapped the end cap and then come back up where the rod's flopped. The rod shot through the block, so that's where all that smoke come from. I don't know if you noticed on the video, we'll just have a quick wind back. So no smoke or oil comes out the exhaust, which tells me, well, initially told me, because obviously I had to call the customer and say, Sam, you cars blew up on the dyno. But yeah, because there's no smoke or anything coming out of the exhaust when it happens, it all comes from the front, so that tells me it's below the cylinder line where it's failed. Anyway, we know that now. Obviously we've taken the sump off, end caps fell off. Number 2 cylinder, so the end cap has been heat damaged, but I imagine what that is obviously when that end cap's come off on cylinder 4, we've lost oil pressure and the engine's been spinning down. I mean, it happened around about 6,000 RPM. So as the engine spun down, it is burnt end cap number 2. That's what I can deduce so far. Anyway, what we are going to do is obviously Sam wants his car back on the road, so I've said no problems. I mean, it's obviously going to cost money. I think the guy that built the bottom end is going to foot this bill, but we're going to put a new block in it. Rather than go for the ZRP H-beam, we're going to use PEC I-beam. I prefer the I-beam. I mean, if you do your research, I-beam are much stronger. They're rated 225 horsepower per cylinder, so that's 900 horsepower basically, isn't it? Yeah. Quick math. So yeah, so anyway, I took the spark plug out. I mean, you can't really see much down there, but there is something I think on top of the piston. I mean, I've checked the let's take this off actually. So I have checked the rockers to see if anything's amiss, see if we dropped a valve or anything like that, but as I said, no smoke or oil come out the exhaust, so it sort of rules out anything happened inside the combustion chamber. This happened underneath this failure, and as I said, I think the piston seized in the block, and then that crank's come down. The weak point is obviously the end cap, which holds the rod on. That's come away, snapped. Crank's gone back up. Rod's basically flopped. That's what shot the oil out the block, but I think that piston is seized solid. So anyway, we're going to pull the engine out probably towards the end of this week or maybe next week, and strip it down, and we'll do a good video on that and see what exactly it was, whether I'm right. I think he hasn't got the piston rings, and the reason I say that is just before dyno day, I said to Sam, because I don't really speak much to the guy that built it, I said, can you get the piston ring gaps for me, what he's got the piston rings to, and no one could give me a definitive answer, which is never a good sign. So yeah, so this is what can happen when you do it wrong, basically. So obviously we've got Charlie's, hopefully the engine's going to be back in, it's going to be ready for the dyno on Friday, but I don't know, I've got a feeling this is going to push me back now, because obviously I had to get it picked up from outside Unicorn, take it back, so there was a day wasted. But yeah, we're just waiting to do Charlie's clutch packs on his gearbox. His DQ250, he's got TVS stage 4, so the rest of the engine's built up, new turbos on. We're just waiting for a couple of seals for the auxiliary bracket that holds in the alternator, and the oil exchanger, heat exchanger, and the oil filter, and then that will be ready to put back in. But yeah, I'm actually gutted for the guy, for Sam. I mean, it really has been a tale of woes, hasn't it, this car? But anyway, stay tuned, because we will get this back on the road, probably looking at just before Christmas now, maybe first week in January. But yeah, we're going to make sure it's done properly. I mean, in hindsight, after the exhaust cam, I did say to the guy, actually, I quite like to pull the engine, but obviously cost of labour to do that. At the time, there wasn't any signs that anything was wrong with the bottom end. I mean, you've seen that video. Here we go, back to the GoPro with the ported head. As you can see, this engine, smooth as a baby's backside. It's ticking over nice and smoothly. But yeah, disaster. So yeah, anyway, stay tuned. Next video we will have Charlie's engine going in, and obviously we're going to put 500 miles on that, so we may just catch it on the dyno, but if not, we are going to film that anyway. So yeah, stay tuned, please like and subscribe. We've got plenty more coming up. So this one I put an engine in about a month ago now. He's having issues with his DSG. It's on 78,000 miles, so it's about that time to do a gearbox service really. I asked him, has he ever had one done? He said no. Generally when you start getting gearbox like clunking and a few issues changing gear and that, generally a good service and a gearbox reset or adaptation, what we do, usually sorts that. So yeah, so I've got that to do on that. Anyway, we will see you in the next one. Bye bye. Okay, so we got the old clutch packs out. So this is the new one, so we removed the snap ring and we now need to take this cover off. And we need to set the end float with a DTI gauge. So there's a shim on here that we need to put on. And then we just need to measure the float from the input shaft and then the actual clutch basket itself. And I'll briefly explain how that goes, but yeah, I'm going to crack on.